mainstream archaeology's theories on pyramid construction. Professor Camp's critical analysis of mainstream archaeology's explanation of this process. Mainstream archaeology's oversimplification. The conventional narrative proposed by mainstream archaeology posits that the Great Pyramid of Giza was built in 20 to 30 years by a large workforce using simple tools and ramps to move massive stone blocks. This narrative has been widely accepted for decades, yet it fails to account for critical factors such as the logistical complexities, engineering challenges, and physical constraints involved in the construction process. Key artistic depictions from ancient Egypt, often cited to support the mainstream theory, are likely symbolic or represent the restoration and ornamental decoration of the pyramids, rather than offering accurate depictions of the actual building process. As a result, these interpretations have misguided the academic community into believing in a simplistic model of pyramid construction that glosses over the complex realities of such a monumental endeavor. Impossibility of the proposed time frame. Based on mathematical and logistical analysis, the mainstream timeline of 20 to 30 years for the pyramid's construction is simply infeasible. Constructing the Great Pyramid in that time frame would require placing a block every minute, 24/7, even assuming a 12-hour workday. Given the weight of each block, 2.5 tons, and the size of the stones, the physical effort involved would have been immense and unmanageable. Further, even assuming the most generous conditions, such as an assembly line-like model or levitation techniques, the need for a highly coordinated, sustained effort over an extended period is unavoidable. The logistics of space, the organization of workers, and the alignment precision needed make such a rapid construction timeline impossible, even with the best tools and labor. Labor, workforce, and ramp feasibility. The sheer number of workers required to construct the pyramid in the proposed timeframe presents an inherent problem. Based on the most generous assumptions, the space required for the labor force and the construction ramps would not have fit within the available land around the pyramids. This raises the question of whether the necessary workforce could have been physically accommodated in the area, given that estimates suggest anywhere from tens of thousands to over 100,000 workers. Ramps, whether straight, zigzag, or spiral, a workforce large enough to achieve this task simply would not have fit within the confined space of the ramps around the pyramid, rendering them impractical. Moreover, logistical constraints and the need for extremely precise engineering further complicate the idea of using basic ramps to transport the massive stones with the accuracy required for the pyramid's construction. Advanced technologies and the need for an assembly line. Even if we consider advanced technologies, such as levitation or anti-gravity devices, which might have been used to move the massive stones, these methods alone do not resolve the organizational and logistical challenges involved. Imagine a workforce placing and aligning 2.5 tons blocks every minute. This is highly improbable, borderline cartoonish. Constructing the pyramid would have required multi-generational planning, and perhaps even the synchronization of specialized teams working together over decades, suggesting that the process resembled a highly organized assembly line rather than a spontaneous or isolated effort. The use of advanced methods like levitation would still require a highly coordinated and sustained effort, much like an assembly line, where specialized labor teams would have been responsible for the precise placement and movement of blocks, ensuring they fit together with the necessary geometric and astronomical alignment. Without such a systematic operation, the construction would not have been achievable in the compressed timeline typically proposed by mainstream archaeology. And now you have to account for the time of transportation from the quarry and the process of cutting the stones at the quarry sites. An impossible task to achieve one every minute, or even being generous one every hour for 20 years. This is laughable. Design and purpose of the pyramids, a multi-phased project. The intricate design of the pyramids, especially the internal chambers, such as the King's Chamber, Grand Gallery, and their precise astronomical alignments, suggests that the construction of the Great Pyramid was a complex, multi-phased endeavor. These features point to an advanced level of engineering and mathematical knowledge that cannot be explained by simple methods involving manual labor alone. The existence of these complex internal features, specifically the astronomical and geographical alignments, indicates that the Egyptians possessed a deep understanding of geometry, astronomy, and engineering that would require specialized knowledge and possibly advanced tools or technologies that are not fully accounted for in the mainstream narrative. The need for a more realistic approach, the assembly line model. Our discussion also emphasized that even if the Egyptians had access to advanced technology, like levitation, the construction would have required systematic organization resembling a large-scale industrial assembly line. The idea that workers could have independently placed blocks without the support of specialized teams or a continuous, synchronized process does not account for the complexity of pyramid construction. The assembly line-like operation would have had to involve specialized teams of laborers, engineers, and overseers, all working in unison to achieve the precision and coordination required to place millions of blocks in the pyramid. This suggests that the process would have spanned far beyond the proposed time frame of 20-30 years, requiring a longer, more sustained effort, possibly extending over a century or more. Why mainstream archaeology's theories are unlikely. The traditional view fails to explain the logistical issues surrounding the transportation, lifting, and precise placement of massive stones, especially given the limited space around the pyramid and the lack of technological infrastructure in ancient Egypt. Even the most advanced speculative theories, like the use of balloons or counterweights, fail to account for the coordinated workforce and sustained effort needed to complete such a massive project within a 20 to 30-year period. The involvement of advanced tools or techniques, as discussed, would have necessitated a more systematic, long-term approach to the construction process. Theories of lost technologies and secret methods. The possibility that ancient Egyptians had access to lost knowledge or technologies, possibly even methods of anti-gravity or electromagnetic levitation, offers a more plausible explanation than the simplistic models proposed by mainstream archaeology. Such technologies would have enabled the transportation and precise placement of massive stone blocks without the need for the large-scale manual labor typically assumed. The fact that the Egyptians may have kept these methods secret further complicates the issue. The Egyptians were surrounded by enemies, and as such, it is reasonable to assume that they would have protected their greatest secrets, such as the technologies behind pyramid construction, just as modern powers often keep advanced technologies hidden for military or strategic reasons. The social, religious, and political significance of the pyramids. The secrecy surrounding the construction methods of the pyramids is also likely tied to their religious, political, and cultural significance. The pyramids were not only tombs, but also symbols of divine power and authority. Therefore, the knowledge of their construction methods would have been tightly controlled, perhaps reserved for a select elite class of priests and the pharaohs. The construction of such monumental structures was not simply a technical feat, but a deeply symbolic and spiritual endeavor, further complicating the idea that it was merely a large-scale labor project. Conclusion: a call for reassessment and intellectual openness. In conclusion, our discussion strongly critiques the mainstream archaeological narrative about the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The idea that it could have been built in 20 to 30 years using basic tools, ramps, and manual labor is highly implausible when subjected to rigorous mathematical, logistical, and engineering analysis. The sheer scale, precision, and sophistication of the construction process suggests that a far more complex, coordinated, and possibly multi-generational effort was involved. Professor Camp's argument also challenges the oversimplified approach that dismisses the possibility of advanced technologies, such as levitation, anti-gravity methods, or other lost techniques that may have been used to facilitate the movement and precise placement of the massive stones. The construction would have functioned like a factory assembly line, requiring an organized, industrial-like process that transcends the timeline and methods suggested by mainstream archaeology. Ultimately, a more open-minded, realistic approach to the mystery of the pyramids is necessary, one that acknowledges the limitations of our current understanding and explores the possibility of advanced lost technologies or a more protracted, systematic construction process. The time has come to challenge the established narratives and consider alternative explanations that account for the incredible achievements of the ancient Egyptians. In conclusion, either the timeline, the construction methods, or both have to be wrong. And also the speculative theories about alternative methods, ancient astronauts, or extraterrestrial builders are not any more speculative than the widely accepted mainstream archaeological theories we have accepted today.